Hi, I know people don't like to hear it, but it's so much more complicated than this. This comment was left on a video where I was discussing poor rural West Virginia and how they voted overwhelmingly for Trump and how that is causing them to suffer in pretty profound ways. Donald Trump and Elon Musk took away a bunch of funding through the Inflation Reduction Act that had been allocated by Congress. They illegally took away just like tremendous quantities of money that in these communities that voted very heavily for Trump, as much as 85%, more than 50% of the population receives SNAP and is on Medicaid. And so obviously the Republicans have completely fucked these folks over. I got way too many comments from people that were like this, but Kamala had a weird laugh. Racism can be expensive. Or like, wow, well, I guess that's what you get if you can't bring yourself to vote for a Black woman. And look, I'm somebody who made plenty of posts right after the election where I had a very unnuanced take, where I said very much this thing like, okay, this is how Americans don't want to vote for a Black woman. And there has been a fair amount of data that's come out showing that if Kamala Harris had been a man, she would have likely been elected. And I think that drove this narrative in a way that's not helpful and not accurate. We know that a lot of folks stayed home who voted in 2020, either because of active voter suppression, right? Republicans have done an awful lot since 2020 to try to suppress the vote, make it harder for people to exercise their right to vote. And at the same time, there was a lot more apathy about the 2024 election. But if we're looking at folks who voted for Trump, swing voters who voted for Trump, and also people who voted for Trump 2 or 3 times in a row, but previously were Democrats, right? Like what we're seeing in West Virginia is a community that had previously been very, very blue, very pro-union, very pro-working class, and yet they voted for Donald Trump, sometimes as much as 3 times. It is insufficient and unhelpful to frame it this way, to believe that the only reason people struggling in poverty, living below the poverty line, experiencing generations of systemic oppression, generations of exploitation by the coal industry, by big corporations, people who cannot feed their families, people who don't have access to good medical care, people who have some of the worst health and educational outcomes in the country, that those people only thought about racism when they were voting. That's just not, it's not helpful. It's not accurate. It's not going to help us dig out of this. This is why I keep talking about that More Perfect Union piece where Bernie Sanders went to West Virginia and talked to these voters. You have to understand that these are people and they are not just like hate machines. They're not monsters. They aren't voting entirely based out of their bigotry. Yes. I've said it a million times and I will keep saying it. The Republicans are really, really good. Donald Trump is really good at harnessing the existing racism and misogyny and transphobia and xenophobia and also internalized classism that exists in American culture. The Republicans are fantastic at harnessing and exacerbating all of it. Republicans are the masters of scapegoating. But do you not understand the whole reason that they are able to scapegoat vulnerable people is because white, poor rural America is struggling tremendously, has been struggling for a really long time. They feel neglected and abandoned. They have righteous anger because they are being harmed, oppressed, exploited by the super rich, by the oligarchy. And the Republicans are so good at taking that righteous anger and saying, don't look at who's actually responsible. Don't focus on the billionaires that are fucking you over. No. You know what? It's actually immigrants. It's actually other poor people. It's actually Black women. These are the problems. It's actually, a couple dozen trans women competing in sports. This is why you're suffering. And I don't personally understand why it is that so many Republicans, I don't understand how so many poor rural Republicans have bought into that message, or not even Republicans, folks who, again, previously were Democratic voters. I don't understand how that message was compelling for them. I am not a historian. I know that this kind of scapegoating has worked out pretty well for fascists in the past. Picking on a vulnerable group, an immigrant group, some minority group, and saying that they are the cause of all your problems, that's a pretty classic move. But recently I read White Rural Rage and then also this book, Dying of Whiteness. And if you think that the issue is as simple as like, these fuckers voted entirely on racism, that's the only thing they cared about when they went to the polls, then you are missing the whole point. And I really encourage you to go read both of those books. When you look at communities that have been targeted by the right for decades, that experience low levels of education, poor health outcomes, poor quality of life, tremendous economic instability, and then, Democrats in cities are like, check your white privilege. These people don't feel that they have any access to privilege. They are living in poverty. And just being like, you have white privilege, you have white privilege, like that's not a helpful conversation to have with them. Their lived experience is that they are being screwed over by the super rich. They are struggling very hard every day. White rural America is being exploited by the same folks who are exploiting us. They are just as oppressed under the oligarchy as we are, except that the oligarchy is really good at harnessing their righteous anger, their frustration, their sadness, their helplessness, and weaponizing it against them. They get these folks to vote for their own oppression. If you don't understand, again, I'm not removing all agency from poor white rural America. I am not saying that these folks are helpless pawns and that they are not responsible for their votes. That's not what I'm saying. But at the same time, these are a demographic that is manipulated and exploited. And if you don't understand the root cause is oppression by the super rich, if you don't understand that the root cause is the fact that our country is run by corporations, by billionaires who will leverage all of their power and influence to continue to keep white voters trapped in generational poverty so that they can weaponize their anger against other people in poverty, other exploited populations, so that they can make sure we never gain class consciousness. We never come together. We never realize that there is no war but the class war, right? Like if you don't understand that, then I really encourage you to read these books, and I really encourage you to like take a step back and examine what's really happening here. Who has a vested interest in making sure that there is never working class solidarity? Who benefits from white supremacy, from the patriarchy, from making sure that working class people have internalized classism? Oh, it's the capitalists, it's the super rich who benefit from those, because white supremacy and the patriarchy, they hurt white working class people as well. I don't want us to diminish in any way how much racism played into the last election, how much misogyny played into the last election. Right after the election, one of my neighbors was talking to me about somebody that he works with, who is a woman, an immigrant woman, who wouldn't vote for Kamala expressly because she's a woman. She said, I think that we need women in support roles. Like vice president was okay, but we're not really ready as a country to have a woman in charge. And I think that sentiment was more common than you might realize. Who benefits from that? Who benefits at the end of the day? Who is reinforcing these systems of oppression that keep us divided, that keep us hating each other? Who is leveraging these to make sure that candidates like Kamala Harris are not getting elected? Who benefits? Who is driving these narratives? Who is manipulating folks to make sure that they continue to vote for their own oppression? It's so much bigger and more complicated than white rural folks are stupid and mean and racist, and they just vote for racism and nothing else. They vote for what they think is going to bring them prosperity, but they also vote out of their righteous anger that they have been told should be directed not at their own oppressor, but at other vulnerable groups that are more vulnerable than they are, right? It's classic scapegoating. If we miss the bigger picture here, we're not going to help those folks deconstruct from their racism. We're not going to help us have working class solidarity. We're not going to get the reforms that we want. We are missing the forest for the trees when we dehumanize Republican voters, especially poor rural voters, especially ones that historically voted Democratic, especially swing voters. Those folks vote based on their economics, based on what they think will improve their quality of life. And they also vote based out of their anger. Who is directing their anger? Who is telling them, yes, you are oppressed. Yes, life should be better for you. Yes, I'm going to come in and make America great again for you. I am acknowledging your pain, your struggle, your oppression, and then I'm telling you to put all of that rage over here on another vulnerable group. Don't look at the fact that it's me, Donald Trump. It's us, the Republicans. It's the billionaires who are fucking you over. No. We're going to promise. We're going to pretend that we're populist. We're going to promise to have your best interest at heart. We're going to make America great again for you. Just keep dumping all your rage at other people that we're also exploiting. And don't notice the ways that we're manipulating you to continue to keep ourselves in power. Yeah, racism is expensive. Who is leveraging racism to increase their wealth and maintain their power? It's not white rural folks in poverty. We have to look at the way all of these things play in together. Who uses these systems and who benefits?